This episode of Fluid Power Forum is sponsored by Endeavor AI. Endeavor AI automates order entry, quoting, and the quote-to-cash process. Win more, sell more, and save time, all without adding headcount. Head to endeavor.ai to learn more. This episode of Fluid Power Forum is also sponsored by IFP Motion Solutions Incorporated, the leader at engineering electronics into fluid power distribution. IFP spans the 13 central states from Minnesota to Texas. For more information, visit ifpusa.com. Welcome to Fluid Power Forum, a podcast of the National Fluid Power Association. I'm your host, Eric Lanke, and it's my job to interview interesting people who are moving fluid power technology forward. If you'd like to be part of our show, you can follow us on LinkedIn. You'll learn a lot more about the show and about us there. You can find us on LinkedIn at the National Fluid Power Association. And make sure to keep sharing those interesting and innovative uses of fluid power with our social media hashtag #OnlyFluidPowerCan. If you see an interesting application of fluid power and you want to learn more about it, share it on social media with that hashtag #OnlyFluidPowerCan. And you just might hear it discussed on a future episode of Fluid Power Forum. Also, please subscribe to our show. You'll find us on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on all the other popular podcatching services. Wherever you find us, please subscribe and then give us a quick rating. Those ratings really do help promote the show and allow more and more of our friends in the industry to join in on these important conversations. Today's show is a recording of a webinar NFPA recently hosted called Advancing Technologies for Fluid Power, Controls, IoT, and Data. The world of fluid power is being reshaped by a number of advancing technologies that can dramatically improve the performance of fluid power systems. And the members of NFPA's Controls, IoT, and Data, or CID Council, represent those technologies, and they can offer a unique view of their application and the future impact on the fluid power industry. So the webinar was an interactive discussion with one of these CID members, Scanreco, a provider of industrial remote control solutions that drive safety and productivity, and their director of sales, Andy.gray. I hope you enjoyed the recording. Welcome, everyone. I'm Eric Lanke, President and CEO of the National Fluid Power Association, and you've joined our quarterly webinar on advancing technologies for fluid power, focusing on controls, IoT, and data. As we know, the world of fluid power is being reshaped by a number of advancing technologies that can dramatically improve the performance of fluid power systems, and the members of NFPA's still new Controls, IoT, and Data, or CID Council, represent many of those technologies, and they offer a view of their application and the future impact that they're having on the fluid power industry. So we're glad that you were able to join us today for what we hope will be an interactive discussion with one of our CID members, Scanreco. Scanreco is a provider of industrial remote control solutions that drive safety and productivity. And if you wish to ask questions as we go or participate in the discussion, we are using the Q&A box. You should have access to the Q&A panel where you can ask questions, or you can raise your hand and I have the ability to unmute you. So we can actually bring you into the discussion if that's of interest to you. So with me from Scanreco is Andy.gray. Andy, I believe you're Director of Sales with Scanreco is your title. And why don't we start with just a quick, if you could introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your background, how you found yourself into this strange world of controls of fluid power systems.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Glad to be here. You are correct. My name's Andy Gray. I am the Director of Sales for North America at Scanreco. On a personal side, I'm married, a proud girl dad. I love playing pickleball. And unfortunately, I'm also a lifelong Cincinnati Bengals fan. So I know a lot about loyalty and resilience, let's say. Um, Most of my career has been centered on business development. Most of that portion is in fluid power, mobile equipment, and working closely with OEMs to solve real application challenges. About a decade ago, what drew me to Scanreco was their strong reputation and opportunity to grow coming over into the North American market. Um, and Scanreco is a great place to work because we sit at the intersection of safety and productivity,
Yeah.
becoming more important in today's landscape.
I was going to ask you to tell us more about Scanreco as a company, what it does specifically, and which customers it serves. And I think you've prepared a little slide deck to help you through that conversation. You want to share that?
Yeah, one moment. Doo-doo. So we'll just have this kind of playing in the background there while I chat about Scanreco. So yeah, what is Scanreco? What do we do? What value does it bring? At the most simple level, Scanreco provides professional radio to remote controls for mobile and industrial machinery. Our primary customers are OEMs and system integrators who support those OEMs. Companies building mobile machines and heavy equipment industries such as construction, agriculture, forestry, utility, industrial, and then of course those operators who use the machines every day. Um, we focus on helping customers operate their machines safely, more efficiently, greater precision. Um, we add a layer of the HMI, so it's a human thinking through the technology, so to speak, to facilitate the operation. It's going to enhance the machine and help the machine and the operator work seamlessly together. So these are some of the the OEMs that we work with. All of them are in high tech and harsh environments. These systems, they got to work out of the box. They got to work in very cold, hot conditions, um, and they don't want to have to return them for service. So that's really the trademark of Scanreco. And I'll keep going through these throughout the slide deck, Eric, as we
Yeah.
continue to talk.
Okay. Well, yeah, I was going to
Mhm.
ask, um, to give us some more details, on uh, what the actual interfaces are. It looks like that's where you're moving to next in the presentation here. So give us a better sense of what those capabilities are and what challenges you're finding as you try to bring that advanced technology onto those machines and especially as it interfaces with the fluid power system on those machines.
Yes, certainly. So I like to explain it this way. Fluid power provides the muscle that's going to move the machine, and Scanreco is the connection between the operator and the machine. Uh, we take the operator's intent and translate that into the hydraulic movement. So the actuators from the joysticks, the levers are going to move the hydraulics. It can do anything from simple on-off functions to highly proportional hydraulic controls that need to be feathered in at the very last second to pick up a load or move the piece of equipment.
Hmm.
Um, we're trying to make these machines powerful, easier, and safer to operate from the for the operator.
And how do you, I mean, from the operator's perspective, like what does that look and feel like? What are they interacting with to make it a safer machine?
So using our systems, they're going to be standing. They have the ability to stand further away from the machine at a safer distance, whether it's a dangerous environment, loud environment. There's a lot of reasons why you would want to be safely away from the machine. Also, as you can see, some of those screens we have the ability to provide camera feedback, and also it's more of an extension of the HMI that's already on the machine, so the user can get that same information that they would get directly from the machine onto the remote and operate at a safer distance.
So are you working with then fully automated machines? They're being operated remotely?
That's a great question. Yeah, so we definitely see ourselves sitting as a leader in the autonomous world. So a lot of these machines, as an example, there's an herbicide sprayer that we work with that's going to run up. It's autonomous. It runs up and down the fields all day long. but at
Hmm.
some point, something may go wrong and might need to have a stop. They utilize our remote to do that. And then they also use it to take it back to the charger and then use it when the autonomous isn't fully available. So we're kind of a good player in that sector as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, the autonomy, I mean, we see that a lot in agricultural settings. Are you seeing autonomy move into other machine types? Are you working with other machine industries in that regard?
Certainly. So in the industrial industry, you're seeing that in forklifts. I think across the mobile market too, you're going to see more and more folks work to get an autonomous type machine, maybe not full autonomous, but with the rental market's going to be growing too because there's a lot of highly skilled operators across the world that are retiring. It's driving a lot of focus on operator interfaces, control systems, and just the user experience. You need to be able to hire someone yesterday and have them operate the machine tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so that's really what we focus on is making it easier.
I think you mentioned the divisioning part of it as well. You know, the use of you can probably speak to it better than I can, but the use of cameras to provide real-time visual feedback, if you will, through the HMI. Where do you see that? That's fairly new, isn't it, in terms of how these machines are being operated?
It is, so think maybe like a drilling application where you can't see the backside of the machine. I think the fire industry as well is going to be, they want to see a camera at the end of some of those water cannons. Um, Things that are also much further down, like maybe rail cars, stuff like that, forestry as well, so you can see the end of the saw. Um, there's a lot of instances where I think we haven't even thought of all the options of where the cameras can go. It's
Yeah.
it's really interesting to talk to OEMs, on a daily basis and see what their needs are and how they want to incorporate our products.
Well, I know that I've heard you guys have presented at some of the other activities that we've done, and I know Jason talked a lot about that field research that you do, that you spend a lot of time, out in the with the customer trying to figure out what their needs are. What kind of epiphanies are you guys having when you do that? Like, what's the cutting edge of what they're looking for?
That's a great question. There's a specific example that really comes to mind, and it involves a lever. So the operator said it doesn't really make sense when I push this lever forward, but the boom comes back in. And so he said, I want to pull the lever. So it's just that was one small example where it's always been designed that way. All the OEMs think that that's what the operators want, but then when you go out and sit with that operator and really ask him, he says this is kind of counterintuitive. So what we do is we actually wrote a book on it. It's called The Smart Operator, and it's really about getting yourself ingrained into the application with the operator to see what they do on a daily basis and how they interact with not only our remote, but the machine and the application in general. So we have a uh, videographer that will go out on site, get up with them first thing in the morning, have coffee with them, go through the morning, have lunch, and the full day. So we've done that with a concrete pump operator, a demolition robot, a drilling application, some marine applications as well, and it
Yeah.
really opens up your eyes to why we do what we do.
Are you picking up any insights through that process that are more specific to the fluid power systems that are on those machines? I mean, obviously the controls is and the HMR interface is your focus, but like what kind of demands are you seeing being newly placed on hydraulics, on the machines?
A lot of it, one example is the demolition robot. So a lot of it is that the autonomous and setting it up. Um, that thing's going to be cutting a lot and using the hydraulics, and then it's got some sensors to read back if it needs to go faster, shorter, and then the operator can kind of set it and forget it
Hmm.
instead of holding that actuator, that joystick the whole time.
And yeah,
That's
so
one example there,
yeah,
yeah.
are there other examples?
That we're seeing.
Yeah.
Maybe in the drilling field as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll continue with our guest in just a moment, But first, I want to tell you about an opportunity to engage in the future of fluid power technology. Two of NFPA's most active committees are our two technology task forces, one focused on mobile applications of fluid power, the second on industrial applications. Each of these task forces work on a series of projects that help us better understand the technology trends in these sectors and help us develop the resources and connections that will be needed to keep fluid power positioned as an actuation technology of choice on both mobile and industrial platforms. The Mobile Task Force publishes a series of reports. Their latest was on ways to design more energy-efficient fluid power systems for mobile equipment with electrified prime movers. The Industrial Task Force also publishes reports. Their latest was on ways to minimize and prevent leaks in fluid power equipment. And they have also completed a year-long project that created an independent technology roadmap specifically for fluid power in industrial applications. All of these resources are accessible on our website at nfpa.com/technology reports. But more important is your ability to participate on and engage with the technology professionals that serve on these task forces. New working groups are forming now around the use of sensors and data analytics in fluid power systems, as well as many other cutting-edge technology advances. These task forces are a great example of NFPA's effective forum in action, with NFPA members across the supply chain and an increasing number of their OEM customers actively engaged in creating the technology strategies that help all of their businesses grow. To learn more and to get involved, contact me at elanke@nfpa.com. So, like, how do you, when you put a system on one of these machines, are you working with the OEM, or are you working with some of the component suppliers as well, to make sure that things are connecting appropriately?
Yeah, so we have two strategies to market. So we'll go sell directly to a lot of the OEMs, but in many instances, some of the mid-size OEMs don't have a full engineering team, and they work with systems integrators. A lot of the people that you'll see at the NFPA meetings,
Right.
and those guys will take a sensor, they'll take the hydraulics, they'll take an HMI, they'll take our remote and integrate it fully into the package with the OEM. So it depends. Even in those instances, we will have relationships with the OEM, even when it flows through the distribution, because we need to make sure it's operating exactly the way they want.
Yeah. So it's really so you're working with the system integrator, it sounds like, to make it embedded in the machine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a whole, the systems integrator is going to provide what we would call, a whole controls package.
And are you finding that the expertise and the skill sets are there to do what needs to be done, or are there still developmental things that the industry needs to focus on?
Yes.
Both and.
Yeah, loaded question. Every customer is going to be different. Every customer is going to have different employees with different capabilities. Long and the short of it is, yes, most of our partners are fully capable of integrating our
Right.
equipment. Sometimes they'll need a little bit of help from our engineering team, and that's what we do every day.
So are there, I guess I'll just remind our audience that they're free to ask questions as well. If they have questions, you can do that in the Q&A panel, which we're looking at, or you can raise your hand and we can unmute you and you can ask a question
Wow.
directly. Yeah. Do you have other slides you want to go through there, Andy?
Yeah. One thing I want to talk about. So as you can see here, on April 28th, Scanreco acquired Cross Control. So you can see there the screens and HMIs. We've made some, strategic moves over the years. Traditionally, OEMs have had to integrate a standard remote control, onboard HMI displays, computer systems, sensors. That can create a lot of complexity, additional costs, long development cycles. With our recent acquisition, we're bringing these capabilities all together for intuitive remote control, advanced display, and onboard computing. So I don't know if you can see my cursor there, but
Yeah.
that screen, a lot of times you're already creating that HMI screen, and what we want to do is make sure you have the ability to use that there as well. So
That just reminds me, what shows up on that screen and what color it is and how big the number is. Like those are all really, really important factors in making sure the machine operates safely and productively.
exactly.
Can you talk a little bit more? I know you guys have done some work in that direction and how customizable those things are.
Yeah, so we did a presentation last IVT about HMI systems and trends and how. So you can put any information you want on here, but how the operator sees it and uses that information is the most important thing. So not knowing much about this industry, the 51 here you see that could, without maybe this gauge here, you can't really tell what that 51 would mean. If it's green, that's a good number. If it's yellow, it's getting into a cautionary number, and then red, obviously. So that's one of the things that we try to help our customers develop. But most times when you work with the OEM, they're developing this already. They know what they want to see. We help them get there, and then we help them lay it out across the entire machine. It just means a smoother development, and our HMI is going to lay that groundwork for the
Right.
whole monitoring system.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's an excellent point, right? A green 51 means something very different from a blinking red 51, right? So,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's a good handy way to elevate that kind of feedback to the operator.
hmm So
Um,
we're really excited about this one, and then this is kind of the evolution, and maybe how we see it fitting in across the board.
yeah, talk a little bit more about the where you see these technologies going in the future, as I think this slide is representing. So,
Yeah, so I, I can talk about some trends I'm seeing in the marketplace as well, and how it affects what we're doing out there.
please, yeah.
So one of the first ones I'm seeing right now is digitalization. Machines are becoming more connected, more data driven. Sensors, diagnostics, real-time feedback are becoming standard expectations. I mean, this is why we've got our CID group. Um, Another one's electrification. That's been a buzzword for a bit, but as we know, I don't think it's going away. Equipment moves towards hybrid and electric solutions. It's going to remain important for OEMs to have that option as well. Another trend is automation, which we discussed earlier. It goes hand in hand with digitalization and electrification. Not always full autonomy, as we discussed before. It's more or less assisted operation.
Hmm.
The operator is still in control, but supported by smart systems, real-time feedback, and then also utilizing those advanced onboard HMI displays. And then what else am I seeing out there? The growing emphasis on usability. We discussed this a touch earlier as well. Machines are becoming more complex, but they need to be easier to use. That's because, the workforce is quickly retiring in this sector. The operators are like I said, quickly retiring, and
Yeah,
hence I think the rental market's going to need to help.
right. We have a question in the Q&A box here from Ada Leung. It's do you see any large manufacturers trending towards not wanting to be stuck in one brand ecosystem? For example, Danfoss or Parker, and more towards an open source, such that users have more product options for integration.
Definitely. I think OEMs certainly want that. They want the ability to pick and choose what's right for their application, not be stuck in one, straight ecosystem. Um, OEMs, I'm not sure, or suppliers, I'm not sure that they always want that as well, but that's really what the OEMs want. And I kind of call it, Apple versus Android. Apple's going to lock you in. You're in their environment. It may be really awesome, but you can't do anything out without it. Android,
Right.
you can kind of manipulate things a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, NFPA loves all of our members equally, so I can't. I got to be careful
Exactly.
with how I ask the next question, but I'm imagining that a system like Ada just described, where you're pulling stuff from a bunch of different suppliers, that poses a different system integration challenge than going with a straight system from one provider or another, as it described. So, like, I'm curious, like, um, how prevalent can you guesstimate like how prevalent one strategy is over the other currently?
I th I think staying in one ecosystem is smaller than um, OEMs and system integrators picking and choosing
Oh, really? Okay.
various. I do.
Yeah.
Um, that's I think OEMs really appreciate that flexibility, and then engineers really like the fact that they can go in and manipulate things on their own, change things without sending something back in, or without um, having to always rely on someone else. And that's what having the ability to pick different components does.
Right. Having those components talk to each other from different manufacturers, if you will. I'm assuming that becomes a solvable problem, but still a challenge, right?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but it's interesting. So, like, again, that leads to that engineering team approach, that we're a company like Scanreco and a company that builds the machine and a company that provides the componentry all have to work together to make sure the thing works, right?
Exactly.
We have another question in the Q&A, this one from John Fry. I could imagine beyond experienced operators retiring, the DIY rental market companies would be pushing for more intuitive HMI solutions as machines become more complex.
100%. Very, very true. And we may have touched on it earlier, but machines, you need to hire someone yesterday and have them work on the machine tomorrow. So it has to be a good user interface. It can't be too confusing, and it has to work, in the moment all the time.
Right.
So it's tough, but that's why we're hired to do what we do.
What so in that environment where you have to work in partnership with all of these different firms to put one system together, without naming names, like what are some of the what's your wish list? Like, what do you want to have? Like, what capabilities would you like to see from either the OEM or from the component suppliers that are currently not readily accessible to you?
That's a good question. I I would say QT and Codesys programming capabilities from the OEM. Most of them have that. If they don't, we kind of sometimes need to hold their hand. And then also CAN integration. Again, most have that ability, but that's going to be key moving forward. Is putting things on the CAN bus, and then having the machine operate from that, so you can quickly and easily make changes.
Again, so I'll ask you, if there aren't any other questions from our audience, please put them in the Q&A box or raise your hand and I can unmute you. You can ask directly. But Andy, I guess I'm curious for you to put your look into your crystal ball and tell us a little bit more about like what you think the future directions of this technology is bringing to the
Sure.
environment.
Sure. I think over the next several years, there's going to be a continued shift towards smarter, more connected, more software-defined machines. Um, Operators are always going to play a critical role, but their role is going to continue to evolve from direct control always of the machine to a more of a supervisory role and decision-making role.
Mhm.
They see what the machine does, make some adjustments, let the machine do its thing, kind of survey from there. What else? Some tighter integration between systems, like we were just talking. So control, HMI, sensors, all the data working together for on one unified platform to operate the machine. Um, from a customer standpoint, expectations are always going to continue to rise. They expect machines not only to be powerful, but intuitive and easy to use and give them feedback.
Mhm.
That's really where we're focused, helping customers build machines that are more capable, more efficient, and future-proof, future-ready.
Right. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any more questions come in. Andy, I appreciate the great information and the good dialogue that we've had on these topics. It's a fascinating area of development for both machines and obviously for the fluid power industry. And I want to thank you for coming on to our webinar today.
Of course, thanks for everyone for coming by.
Okay.
Thanks, Eric.
So this will be, again, we're doing these quarterly. So we'll be having another one of these programs in about 3 months with another member of the CID Council. And we look forward to having people register for that. We'll sign off. Thank you. All right. Well, that is going to wrap things up for this episode of Fluid Power Forum. My thanks to Andy Gray of Scanreco, who was my guest on the recorded webinar you just heard. If you'd like to connect with Andy, you can do that via his email, and we put a link to his email address in the show notes for this podcast episode. Remember, if you like our podcast, and we hope you do, please follow us on LinkedIn. You can find us there at the National Fluid Power Association. And make sure to keep sharing those interesting and innovative uses of fluid power with our hashtag #OnlyFluidPowerCan. We do want to hear from you about the kind of topics that you'd like to hear discussed on the show. Fluid Power Forum is a podcast of the National Fluid Power Association. I'm your host, Eric Lanke, reminding you to join us next time in the forum.